Update. Am I the a-hole for cooking my boyfriend's family Chinese food instead of Chinese food? Original post. I was born in China, but my parents and I moved to the West when I was little. So, I was raised mostly Westerner. But my parents still managed to teach me many Chinese traditions, including food, and I sometimes still cook what they cook. So, I've been with my boyfriend for about 3 years and he lives with me at my place. This Christmas, his family, mom, dad, sister, and nephew, came to visit him from his birth country of Spain for the first time in years. I was excited because I never had a chance to meet them in person. They arrived a few days before Christmas. He went to pick them up at the airport while I was working, so when I came home, they were already there. The meeting didn't go well as I would wish, because the little nephew, as soon as he saw me, started doing the eye-stretching thing. He was immediately reprimanded by his mom and grandparents, but the following days he made a lot of racist jokes in Spanish like, "What do you call someone who doesn't take a shower in Chinese? Shin shan poo." And he was barely reprimanded for that. Besides that, Christmas went great, and the next day we woke up very late. The nephew started saying that he wanted Chinese food for lunch, so my boyfriend's parents asked me if I could make it. I said sure, I was glad to do it. I cooked something my parents would do in a special occasion like these and served the table in a very traditional way, with chopsticks and everything. Then I called everybody to the table and instantly saw their disappointed faces. The nephew said, "What's this?" To which I said, "Chinese food." He grunted and said, "No, it's not," and started to throw a fit. His mom calmed him down, then boyfriend's parents told me, "This isn't what we were expecting." So I asked, "What did you expect?" And they replied, "You know, something like what they serve at restaurants." I tried to explain to them that this is something actual Chinese people eat, but wouldn't listen. They dressed up and went outside to eat at a restaurant. My boyfriend stayed at home, but then called me stupid. He said, "You knew exactly what they meant by Chinese food. I'm trying to make you look good in front of them, but you're not helping me by playing dumb." I asked him to explain himself better, but he just shouted, "When people say Chinese food, the last thing they expect is white rice. Get a freaking clue," and locked himself in our bedroom. Since that incident, they started to speak to me as a toddler, over-explaining everything they asked me to do, and stopped correcting the nephew's racist behavior. I tried to tell my boyfriend to tell them to stop, but he said, "This is your making. Now they think you're brainless." This continued till they left yesterday. My boyfriend and I now barely talk, and I wonder if it's really my fault and I should have known better. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not a-hole. They're from Spain. If you ask them for food from their country, and then afterwards was like, "No, I want the type of stuff you'd get from Taco Bell," they'd lose their mind. Yes, I'm aware Taco Bell isn't Spanish food, but people do understand that racists lump everyone together, right? They would assume Opie's family's Mexican because they ignore every other Spanish-speaking country. They also interchange Spanish and Mexican. They're racist, and so is your boyfriend. And cut the cord and find someone who can appreciate your culture. Edited to add, he might not be the full-blown cartoon villain awful, but he does have some of it in him. His nephew is making awful behavior, and he didn't correct him. He belittled you for not making the right kind of Chinese food. Flipping out about serving white rice when it seems pretty standard to have white rice come with Chinese food takeout. It feels like he's gaslighting you by trying to make this your fault for their awful behavior. He might not have shown you that side before, but he did now. This, despite Opie's protests, her boyfriend is racist. Why she's okay with that is beyond me. She doesn't need to get a clue about Chinese food. She needs to invoke some self-esteem and get a spine, because this is BS. When your partner's family treats you like crap, either your partner ditches the family or you ditch the partner. When people say Chinese food, the last thing they expect is white rice. Where does this dingus thinks rice came from? This just raises questions about what Chinese restaurants serve in Spain. We were in Marbella, and for a change of pace, went out to dinner at a Chinese restaurant. Lots of Brits eating there. Noticed that the standard side wasn't rice, but French fries and chips. Never seen that at a Chinese restaurant in America. Not a-hole, but please dump this racist loser and his whole racist family. I'm sorry, but traditional Chinese or any Asian food is amazing, and they don't know what they're missing. Anyone who tries to pin their family's abuse of you on you is just as bad. This is really telling. I'm trying to make you look good to them. I'm sorry, but they came into your house, and it's expected for you to have to kiss their butts? No, dump the whole trash family. In addition to being racist, Opie's boyfriend had a gall to call her stupid and brainless for doing exactly what his family asked her to do. He clearly doesn't respect her as a person, and has proven that he'll side with his family no matter how poorly they speak to and treat her. Does your boyfriend help pay the rent and bills? Does he insult you a lot? Does he often criticize how you do things? Do you ever feel like you need to always cater to what he wants to have peace in the household? Who makes the decisions in your household? Do you both discuss things and decide on what to do? Or is he the only one making decisions that you are expected to just follow? Did you tell him you did not like the way you were treated by his family and the way he acted? If he still does not realize how wrong he and his relatives were, then that should show you what kind of person he is. I read this and had to go to the bathroom to cry a little. My answer to every single one of those questions might be upsetting for you. I never thought about it, and I'm just speechless right now. Now for the update. Hi, I'm alive. I'm sorry for disappearing for so long. A lot has happened in the last weeks, and sorry if I'm not very detailed. I'm very tired today. For those who already know my story, my boyfriend allowed his family to be racist to me. So after his family left, I tried to break up with him, but he wouldn't let me end a relationship. I tried talking to him, but he would say something along the lines of, "I'm not breaking up with you." I talked to my family about it. They were furious at him, and I had their support, especially my father. I'm so glad that they were by my side. I went to my place with my father to confront my boyfriend and break up once and for all. He didn't take it well, shouted that I can't break up with him, and he won't end a relationship. That's where my dad intervened, and they started fighting. Like fist fighting. My dad ended up being hurt, but he also landed some hits on my boyfriend. I was horrified, crying, screaming, and with no idea of what to do. My boyfriend then grabbed me, got my purse, and threw me out, and my dad followed me. He locked himself in, and we started hearing him breaking stuffs. My keys and phone were in the purse, so I couldn't go back in. So Dad called the police. They arrived like half an hour later. During that entire time, we did hear him breaking stuffs. When the cops finally arrived, tried to talk to him, but he wouldn't respond. So they broke the door, and after another fight, they arrested him. I walked inside my place with another cop and my dad, and everything was destroyed. Everything he could break was broken. From glasses, to plates, to mirrors, to holes in the walls. Every TV, my computer, my phone, coffee maker, etc. Dad pressed charges immediately. I'm terrified, and I'm still terrified. We had a trial and he is in jail now, but I think he might be deported to Spain. I'm not sure. I'm still in therapy and still living with my parents. Some of my stuffs were repaid, but I'm still not ready to come back home. Sometimes I still wake up crying in the middle of the night. I don't know if I regret standing up for myself or if I will be able to trust people in the future. I might die alone without a husband or children, and that makes me sad. I had self-ending thoughts, but I find things that make me want to stay alive. I don't know when I will feel good for real, but progress has been made. Oh, and my ex-boyfriend's family are still trying to reach me to insult me and make me feel even worse for sending him to jail. I block them, but always find yet another phone number to call me from or a temporary email address. If you are reading this, thank you. I am so incredibly proud of you. You are a DV survivor. You and your father stood up to your disgusting abuser and finally got out of that awful relationship. This was so important for your health and safety. You did everything right. I'm so sorry you have had to endure so many terrible crimes. He never should have assaulted you, your father, or your personal items. He is a sorry excuse for a human being. Please be sure you hold nothing back when pressing charges and ensuring you get back as much as possible and that he goes to jail for as long as possible. Finally, please take care of yourself now. Do things you love. Reach out to friends. Pursue hobbies. Go to a spa. Take a vacation. Binge your favorite TV shows. You must live your life to the fullest and never let someone like him in your life again. Be proud of yourself. You are so strong. That escalated rather quickly. From we just wanted chicken fried rice to fist fights, property damage and jail time? Yikes. Makes you wonder what wasn't said in the post, or what ex-boyfriend might have left waiting in the wings if OP tried this alone. Looking at what was said in the last post, I dread hearing what else this family did to OP. I mean, she cooked an authentic, and I'm certain, delicious Chinese dish that was close to her heart. And it was declared she was a brainless moron for not cooking westernized food. Yeah, the "I want to break up," and then the boyfriend's response of "No, I won't let you." The racism was a giant waving flag. That elevated it to a 250 decibel EAS warning. He sounds like the kind of racist craphead who thinks Asian women are demure and obedient and exotic, and fetishizes them to suit his ideals. Would not shock me if that was his stance. I am Chinese, and I've had to explain to people that what is commercially served in Chinese restaurants isn't always a good representation of what Chinese people actually eat at home. For example, lemon chicken isn't a traditional Chinese dish, and neither is General Tso's chicken. The boyfriend and his family is rotten, and I'm glad the OP got rid of him. Totally. An Indian friend of mine is the same about things like butter chicken. I'd love to try traditional Chinese food. OP would have made that from scratch and was probably quite time-consuming. That family's trash. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law that she doesn't have room to criticize the way I support my daughter's passions when her own husband is barely involved with her kids? My daughter Cameron is very artistic. Cam likes doodling and using certain online animation apps, but her preferred way to express herself is through street art such as graffiti. I have found an art class that specializes in graffiti for Cameron, as well as gotten her connected with specific zones where graffiti is allowed. She's staying out of trouble and it makes her happy, so I don't see any issue with it and encouraged her hobby. Some context about my sister-in-law Sydney is that she has 2 daughters, Eden and Ava, and her husband Benjamin is not involved with the girls at all. My brother-in-law is the kind of guy who brags about how he's such a man because he's never changed any diapers or attended parent-teacher meetings, and Sydney does it all. He's seemingly oblivious to the fact that this does not impress nor earn him respect from other fathers his age. Sydney constantly makes excuses for Benjamin's lack of involvement with Eden and Ava. Things along the lines of how it's her responsibility as the mother, or that since he makes more money, it is not his responsibility to step up as their father. Sydney seems to have internalized misogyny herself. I bring all that up because Sydney has become very vocal about her disapproval of Cam's graffiti hobby, and a lot of her complaints seem to be misogynistic. Things along the lines of how Cameron is 14, becoming a young woman, and needs to start acting like it. And that I should move her into classes for a more appropriate, feminine form of art like watercolors. I told Sydney that, unless Cam wants to, I would not be changing her art class or discouraging her graffiti. She's staying out of trouble, and it makes her happy. I see no issue with her hobby. Sydney called me irresponsible and said to think about the kind of potential partners Cam would attract with a hobby like graffiti. She then said that if Cameron keeps doing graffiti, she will eventually hang around a bad crowd and get into drugs. I told Sydney that she doesn't have room to criticize the way I support Cam's passions when her own husband is barely involved with Eden and Ava. Sydney and I got into an argument where I admittedly was yelling back at her. My wife had us de-escalate, told Sydney off, and we left. Once we got home and things cooled off, my wife explained that she did not regret telling Sydney off over the drug comment. But throwing Benjamin's lack of involvement in Sydney's face was just a low blow in my end. And that 2 wrongs don't make a right, since I could have addressed Sydney's comment without bringing the situation with Benjamin into it. I do see my wife's side and realize that bringing up Benjamin was a low blow. The 2 friends I brought it up to, however, said that Sydney had it coming, and that in a way, I helped Sydney because she needed to look at herself and her own family dynamics in the mirror. Now I'm conflicted. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law has essentially said that you have exposed your daughter to a bad crowd and that she's likely to get into drugs. She has offered her opinion that you should be encouraging more feminine art for her. What you should have said is, "Thank you for caring about my daughter. I'm happy for her to do this and I'm confident that it's safe. I don't think it'll expose her to a life of drug taking." I'm glad we can have these open chats about our kids because I've been feeling some concern for a while about the impact that your husband's neglect of Eden and Ava might be having on them. I'm worried that they don't have a strong bond with him and that in the future, they might exhibit some worrying attention-seeking behaviors from the males in their lives. I suspect that it gone down that way, she may have STFU'd. Agreed. If anything, having an established hobby that her parents support is going to keep her off drugs. Not the a-hole. Sydney needed a slap off her pedestal. It's always entertaining when people don't look at their own life and try to control others. Her husband is an a-hole, and she's a bigger a-hole for allowing him to treat her and her kids that way. I'm surprised this doesn't get brought up more often, honestly. If that dude ever brags about that crap, I would hope other people tell him what a piece he is. Also, you remind her that many girls with daddy issues seek the wrong kind of attention. She needs to worry about the effects her husband will have on her daughters. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry, but I'm surprised by the all you're the a-holes in here. In what universe is Sydney not the a-hole? It's none of her business how OP chooses to parent. OP is being supportive of their daughter's interest in the best way. Sydney and her internalized misogyny, something that's actually harmful to her daughters, can get out of OP's business. She has no right or place criticizing OP. I'm sorry, but if she didn't want OP criticizing her, she shouldn't have done it to OP. She simply got a taste of her own medicine. It was fair game. Again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Agree 100%. Sydney didn't just express her stupid opinion, but kept escalating when OP declined to take her advice. It sounds like she's one of those pushy jerks who will not shut up when you ignore their advice. OP gave her a taste of her own medicine, and she didn't like it. Too bad. OP is not the a-hole.